So if we now actually, let's dig into that. That's kind of the conceptual part. Let's see what, we got the math, we've got numbers, we can see, put some actual quantitative numbers on it to see how that looks. So let's imagine that villain folds to c-bet 50% of the time. And I'm not kind of picking that number up out of thin air. I'm looking at the stats from having played poker and looking in the database and stuff like that. That's a pretty common thing to see, as a 50% fold to c-bet out of position in 3-bet pots. Pretty common to be somewhere around this within a few percentage points. So if we c-bet and then villain calls, so he must be calling 50% of the time, and we can use this conditional probability. We had a 10.8% calling our 3-bet call range. That's where that 10.8 is coming from. So if he's continuing 50%, then he's got a 5.4% continuing range versus c-bets. So if you imagine this on the ace 7-5, what is 5.4%? That's the hands that we're looking at. We're looking at any ace that they happen to have. We have a couple middle pair things in the queen, queen, and jack, jack. You could say, why do you have queen, queen, jack, jack, but not 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8? Well, that's again a way of kind of weighting it, where some people fold in all the time, some people are calling all the time. But I put in the queens and the jacks are ones people probably going to be more likely to call than the others. I also put in a gut shot with the 9-8. I think people could very well be playing that sort of thing. And then we have the sets with the 7-7 and the 5-5. So once we actually punch this into the equity calculator, you can see at the bottom how much equity we have. So we have 56% equity when called. So of course this is certainly good. We're getting a bet in and it's getting called and we're ahead. But we're slightly ahead. We're not killing, and maybe even more importantly, we can at least say that we probably aren't going to go 3 barrels, right? Do you even really want to go a second one? Because if you bet and get called, let's say you bet the turn and get called, like you're going to be behind once you get called. So very quickly, we can see that second bet that started to get pretty large, you're actually getting that in going in as a dog. So, if that's the case, then ace queen offsuit is trying to make money when it hits. But if a second bet goes in and you're a dog, then how much money are you really winning when you hit, right? This means you're probably going to need to check somewhere on the flop or the turn. Probably bet flop, check turn. And then, try to extract some value there on the river. But how great are you going to end up there? Maybe you get a little bit, maybe these jack, jack, queen, queen hands are a little more likely to call that line, I guess maybe, whereas they would have folded to the double barrel. But you still imagine you're not getting that equity going in like really, really good or something like that. So this kind of shows in a nutshell is like, even though you aren't really worried about being dominated, by the time you see bet the flop and get people folding, you actually aren't going to be like a huge favorite. And that's why ace queen offsuit's not doing so well versus these EP and MP opens, is the sort of hands it's going to hit, it can really only get like one quality bet out of it. And that bet is only, like that flop bet's probably only be like in the 10 to 13 BB area, depending on 3-bet sizes and stuff like that. That turn bet is going to be quite a bit more. It's going to be more like 25 BB. So that's the thing. Now when you start getting into these turn and river bets where they're 25 to 50 BB between both streets, on each street individually rather, those are like, they're so massive as compared to the flop bet. When you're 2 to 3 to 5 times bigger, like that's really where the impact is going to be. And so the ace queen's really not able to get these really big, quarter stack bets of clean value. And so then it's kind of like, why 3-bet them? They're not gonna be able to win the big pots.